On September 30th, 2024, Hurricane Helene made landfall as a monstrous Category 4 storm, wreaking havoc across multiple states along the U.S. East Coast. But it wasn't just Florida or Georgia that bore the brunt of the storm. Helene's wrath reached far inland, causing devastation in regions that had never experienced such catastrophic weather before, including western North Carolina. Hurricane Helene's devastating force was felt far beyond its initial landfall in Florida. Among the hardest-hit areas were the mountainous regions of western North Carolina, specifically Buncombe County and its major city, Asheville. Known for its scenic beauty and normally temperate climate, this region faced an unprecedented natural disaster. As the storm moved inland, it unleashed powerful winds and torrential rainfall, causing widespread flooding, landslides, and structural damage. The area was ill-prepared for such extreme conditions. As of the latest reports, at least 49 people have tragically lost their lives, and dozens more remain unaccounted for. In Buncombe County alone, 40 confirmed deaths have made this one of the worst natural disasters in the region's history. Rescue teams are still working around the clock to locate the missing, but the damage to infrastructure has made their efforts increasingly difficult. Governor Roy Cooper spoke at a press briefing, describing the devastation as beyond belief. Roads and bridges that connected small rural communities were washed away. The storm caused over 300 road closures, effectively cutting off access to emergency services for thousands of residents. Highways that once bustled with traffic were submerged under floodwaters, and crucial mountain passes crumbled under the weight of landslides. Even days after the storm's initial impact, more than 11,000 people remain unaccounted for, many of them trapped in areas that are now inaccessible to rescue teams. The storm's impact didn't just involve floodwaters. Helene triggered massive mudslides that swallowed homes, downed trees that crushed vehicles, and destroyed critical infrastructure such as water lines and power grids. In some neighborhoods, entire homes were swept away, while others were left isolated, surrounded by deep floodwaters. Residents who once enjoyed the serenity of living close to nature now face the reality of losing everything. As emergency crews work to clear debris and restore services, the scale of the destruction has become clearer. Some communities may take weeks, if not months, to fully recover. With more than 300 roads still closed and extensive damage to essential services like water and power, the challenges ahead are immense. Crews are working tirelessly, but the sheer magnitude of the disaster has stretched resources thin. Western North Carolina, hundreds of miles from where Hurricane Helene made landfall on Florida's Big Bend, faced an unanticipated and catastrophic impact from the storm. The storm's torrential rains followed a prior weather system that had already saturated the ground, leading to unprecedented conditions. In just a matter of hours, regions experienced rainfall amounts exceeding 12 inches, causing widespread flooding and triggering landslides that buried homes and roads under tons of debris. As a result of the hurricane's destructive winds and the relentless rain, over 300 roads were rendered impassable, with many areas completely cut off from emergency services. The aftermath was devastating. At least 49 people lost their lives, and dozens were reported missing, highlighting the storm's tragic toll on the community. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, responded to the crisis by deploying more than 1,200 federal workers to assist in recovery efforts, which marked one of the worst disasters in North Carolina's history. In Asheville, Assistant City Manager Ben Woody characterized the damage to the city's water system as catastrophic, noting that thousands of residents were left without access to clean drinking water. Reports indicate that nearly 40% of the city's water infrastructure suffered significant damage, making restoration efforts complex and time-consuming. Residents lined up for hours at water distribution centers, with many receiving only a limited supply of 3 gallons per person per day. The hurricane's impact extended far beyond water systems. Power outages affected more than 100,000 residents across the region, with utility crews racing against the clock to restore electricity as night fell. The emotional strain on residents was palpable as they scoured shelters and distribution sites for food and resources, desperate to connect with loved ones. Over 11,000 individuals reached out to local officials seeking assistance in locating family members, leading to an increased focus on recovery and support efforts for vulnerable populations, particularly the elderly and medically dependent. In the face of this overwhelming adversity, community resilience emerged as residents banded together to help one another, sharing resources and information as they navigated the complexities of recovery. The emotional and physical scars of Hurricane Helene will linger long after the waters recede, but the determination of the people of Western North Carolina shines as a beacon of hope amid the devastation. Western North Carolina, hundreds of miles from where Helene first made landfall, was unprepared for the sheer force of the storm. The combination of the hurricane's winds and an earlier rainstorm resulted in mudslides, downed trees, destroyed bridges, and widespread power outages. More than 11,000 homes and businesses were left without power, and many areas are still without access to clean drinking water or cell phone service. In Asheville, Assistant City Manager Ben Woody described the water system damage as catastrophic. Roads and infrastructure that had been in place for decades were destroyed in a matter of hours. Meanwhile, hundreds of residents scoured shelters and distribution centers, hoping to find food, water, or even a way to contact missing loved ones. With communications down, water systems severely damaged, and many roads inaccessible, reaching the most vulnerable has been difficult. According to reports, some 400 pallets of water and food from FEMA were lost in transit or were slow to arrive, leaving local residents like Sarah Legatsky wondering why more wasn't done sooner. "We knew how fragile our water system is," she said, criticizing the delayed response. Federal and state officials have worked around the clock to distribute water and supplies, but some areas remain cut off. Despite FEMA's efforts, bottlenecks in the supply chain and logistical challenges have made it hard to get resources to where they are needed most. As the floodwaters begin to recede, search and rescue teams have been working tirelessly to locate the missing. Some homes have been found overturned in rivers, while entire communities remain unreachable. In Buncombe County, 150 priority missing persons cases are still open, with search crews actively working to locate elderly and medically dependent residents. Governor Cooper expressed hope but acknowledged the enormity of the challenge. "Our main mission right now is helping these communities," he said during a press briefing. However, with hundreds of roads destroyed, bringing aid and rebuilding could take months, if not years. As the region begins the slow recovery process, state and federal officials stress the importance of resilience in rebuilding. "This is an all-hands-on-deck event," said Transportation Secretary Joey Hopkins. "We need to rebuild in a way that prepares us for future storms." President Joe Biden has approved federal disaster relief, and thousands of National Guard troops have been deployed to assist with recovery efforts. While communities continue to struggle with the immediate aftermath, long-term efforts to repair roads, restore power, and rebuild homes have already begun. Hurricane Helene has caused unprecedented damage, but communities are coming together to recover. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and subscribe to North Sea Tales for more stories like this. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest content.